So many beautiful faces tonight. It's good to see everyone. You know, typically, if I see someone that I haven't seen someone in a while, I like to say, "What's been developing in your life?" And now I can't. Is that funny? Is that already funny? I mean, and I can't ask each and every one of you right now what's developing in your life, but I think I never ask myself, what's developing in your life, Dustin, Kramer? What's developing? And today was an extremely hectic day for me. It just like you have those days where you have periods of where you're comfortable, right? And it's easy to get comfortable because things are consistent. You have your work, you have your school, you have an exam, you have some homework, you got some targets to meet. And then every now and then there's a day that just feels like a steamroller just goes right over you. And I had one of those days today because for a while I was pretty comfortable. I was with my work, and it's actually been a year since I started at my current company, which I thank God for continuously because it just kind of appeared out of nowhere, and it was the only place that accepted me. And I was so excited to actually get some experience in my field. But it's been a year since then, and a year ago I gave a verbal 1-year commitment. I said, yeah, I'll stay with you for a year. I'll commit my time here. And today I met with my boss, and she said, hey, things have been going pretty great. Would you like to do another year? Now, it's not like contractual. I'm not obligated to do it. But it was like a fork in the road. I had a choice, either commit another year here, keep my word, or kind of say, no, I can't do that. Because my whole idea was that after a year, I'm going to start searching for new opportunities. And that's what I ended up telling her. I was like, well, no, I can't do another year. I can't. In my heart, I can't say that I'll commit. And that it really, the whole day I've been having like these mini panic attacks, little bits of anxiety of what I believed in, what I thought about. And I've still got my job for now. I haven't been fired. I haven't been fired yet. I haven't been fired, but it just suddenly, I had to do so much. I had to update my resume, my cover letter. I had to start reaching out, and I already reached out to a couple of, I heard back from a couple of recruiters and a couple of companies. So God bless, things happen so fast. That's what's developing. And that's what God does in your life when you let him, I guess, lead you. God led me to this first position, and suddenly when they feel like they're coming to a halt, new doors are opening up. But doors open up, and God works in your life the more you proclaim his name. Now, a lot of you have probably heard from me now because I'm like a broken record at this time that I'm trying to get into event hosting, wedding hosting, right? I've said it. If you know anyone getting married, no, I'm kidding. I'm not going to promote right now. But that's something I've been trying to get into, and I'm like a broken record about it. But you see, when we live as Christians, right, and we all come together. We come here and we're happy together. We understand that the people next to us, you sit down, you're listening to worship or singing along, and you understand that the people around you, for the most part, are like you, that we're of the same faith and that we believe the same sorts of things. And it feels really good, doesn't it? It feels really good. It's like a safe space. To use, that kind of description, it's a safe space. Because the world ultimately will be against you at every step that you take. That the devil's always lurking around. And just like today where I thought, dang, this is something serious. I messed up or I'm about to lose my job, but God has opened up something else very quickly. I haven't lost the job yet, but God opened something up very quickly to replace it. And it's better than what I could have imagined. And I'm happy for it. So the title of my message today is Don't Be a Peter. It's a little bit of a comical title, but the topic is very serious. Now, last week, Andre had a great sermon about being the light. Is that correct? Being the light. And that's what we're called to do as Christians. Be like Jesus, be the light. Bring people closer to God. Bring people into what we believe, right? God will do the rest. God is there. God will bring his children back home. God gives salvation. But what we choose to exhibit about ourselves is what we're labeled as, right? And I brought up the example. I'm coming over here. Hey, Do you know anyone getting married? I want to host their wedding. Do you know any events I can host? Blah, blah, blah. That's what I'm promoting. That's me. Now, what would the difference be if I said, hey, I'm going to church this week. I'm going to church today, or I'm going to church tomorrow. I'm going to this church on the weekend. Do you want to come with? Hey, there's this event. There's this youth event, blah, blah, blah. That's a huge difference. Because one is kind of all about me, to say the least. But the other is about glorifying God, who is really what we owe our lives to. It's our salvation, because without that salvation, then we don't have anything really good to look forward to, unless you're looking for a permanent tan. But as the title, Don't Be a Peter, I'm going to be speaking about Peter today, and specifically about Peter denying Christ. And intertwining, I'm going to include a little story about myself that I don't think I've told anyone before. But as I was thinking about it, a lot came back to me, and it really fits in with Peter and his situation. So I'm going to start reading from Matthew chapter 26, verse 31. Then Jesus told them, and this is at the Last Supper, then Jesus told them, this very night you will all fall away on account of me. For it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I have risen, I will go ahead of you into Galilee. Peter replied, even if all fall away on account of you, I never will. Peter here is saying, objection. You're wrong. I'm not going to fall away. That's not me. It's kind of like, you can't escape the truth. Jesus is saying it. You can't escape that truth. He says, even if all fall away on account of you, I never will. That's a great mentality to have. Very positive. That's bonus points in the workplace. Truly I tell you, at verse 34, Jesus answered, this very night before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. But Peter declared, even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you. And all the other disciples said the same. So Peter here, he's leading the band, saying, no, Jesus, you're our closest homie. We are going through and through. We're going to be with you till the end. And it's really interesting, because when we're all together, right, and we'd say, you ever say to your friend, I would die for you, man. I would die for you. I'd take a bullet for you. It's really easy to say it. It's very easy to say it. Because when we just speak out our, supposed intentions, they don't really hold value, because they're just words. Either you stay true to your word, or you don't, right? So right here, Peter, he's like the hype man. Like, no, Jesus, we're going to stick by you till the end. That's our brotherly love. That's the love that we have for one another. So my first point here is that we are comfortable with God around other believers. We're here in this place, safe space, whatever you want to call it, the church, the home of God, where we're here together and we're serving together, we're worshiping together, and we feel comfortable. We feel very comfortable. We can raise our hands here. We can sing out. We can be as loud as possible. We don't care if we're tone deaf and that we're actually hurting the ears of the person next to us. We don't care about that, because we're here worshiping God together in a collective, and it feels great. Now, when I was in elementary school, I was a hooligan. I mean, I've been a constant hooligan my entire life, but in school, this was around 4th grade. And a couple of friends of mine and I, we decided to make a group together. And we had code names. My code name was Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe, if anyone is familiar with that. My friend Alex was Sasha. Very, very creative. And my other friend, Devin, his name was Fisher from the Splinter Cell game series, if anyone is familiar. And our organization name was SSF. Perfect, right? Whenever anyone would ask, what does that mean? Like, don't worry about it. In my head, it's like, it's our names. I didn't know what to name it. But this was our little group, SSF. It just started off as us. And it grew, and we got people from our class to join, and from other classes. Everyone was joining. It was amazing. We were a gang. We were a gang on the playground. But we didn't hurt anyone. But We got really big. Everyone had code names. Everyone had code names. And there was, at the top, Snake Eyes, Sasha, and Fisher. I mean, we had ranks as well, like military ranks, captain, lieutenant. We had all of that. We had ways to rank up. I mean, we had like the big toy where you do like an obstacle course on the big toy. And people were coming in, and people were loving it. Not that, it was to any gain, it was just to be a part of something. And we were all part of it together. And it was amazing. It was extreme brotherly love. And there were some girls involved as well. I was an equal opportunity employer. Anyone could join, and that was the beauty of it. We all had so much fun together. And as we stayed together, it just grew and grew, and we were really comfortable with one another. And you have those close friends that you have where you can do anything with them. You could be completely crazy. You could be up at 2 a.m. in your pajamas, and you're talking an alien, and you're just laughing at each other, right? I'm sure someone has done that, maybe recently as well. But you have those kinds of friends in your life where you're really comfortable with. And that comfort, it really, really sets in. It really sets in. And, your parents have probably told you in the past, no, don't be too close to anyone because in a couple of years you're never going to see them again. Like, wow. Wow. No, they don't care about you. Tell me you haven't heard that before. You heard it. They don't care about you. You're going to lose your friends. You're going to end up being alone. But we're comfortable with our friends, and we're comfortable here in the church because we know that we can be open, we can be free here. And that is the beauty of serving God, serving Jesus, is that we can be open with him, that there doesn't have to be secrets, that there doesn't have to be complications. We come here and it's easy. It's an easy love. So after this scenario where Jesus is talking to the disciples and Peter says, no, we will follow you to the end, they go to pray. Jesus goes to pray at Gethsemane. I hope I pronounced Gethsemane. Sorry, these pronunciations they get me sometimes. Later on, Jesus is then arrested, brought by Judas, and then Jesus is condemned by the people of the temple, the high priests, the guards, and basically they say, oh, he's blaspheming. He's blaspheming. They're basically condemning him. And so in this next section, where we're kind of fast-forwarding past all of this, before I go on, because I'm reading from Matthew, in Luke, it says that Peter followed them. Peter followed them. It doesn't say in any of the other ones, and I know Luke is the more detailed account of Jesus' life. And it says in Luke that Peter followed the crowd that was, I'm paraphrasing here, but he followed the crowd that was taking Jesus away, the priests and the guards and the officers. He was following them. He was close by. And then and I'll continue, I guess, reading here from Matthew 26, verse 69. Now Peter was sitting out in the courtyard, and a servant girl came to him. You also were with Jesus of Galilee, she said. But he denied it before them all. I don't know what you're talking about, he said. So this, to put it in kind of modern perspective, is someone saying, hey, you go to LOV? No, I don't. I saw you tagged in one of their posts. No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. And it seems really funny because, back then, understand the context. There was no Instagram. There was no Facebook. There was no technology to spread information. It was kind of like you can start over here where it's just like, yo, did you hear that Peter is not following Jesus? And then by the time it reaches the other room, it's like, Patrick has what on his where? And when these sorts of confrontations happen for Peter, his immediate response is denial. It's denial because, truly why is difficult to understand. But he was following and he was looking. So whether he was following due to compassion or if he denied because of fear, we don't exactly know. But the first denial. Carrying on, verse 71, Then he went out to the gateway, where another servant girl saw him and said to the people there, "This fellow was with Jesus of Nazareth." He denied it again with an oath, "I don't know the man." Wow. "I saw you at LOV. No, I swear, it wasn't me. That's a little weird, isn't it? It's like, I kind of saw you. I know you were walking with him. I saw you handing out bread with him. Um, okay, carry on. And so that's the second denial, right? So now we know what's coming up next. The third denial. After a little while, verse 73, those standing there went up to Peter and said, "Surely you are one of them. Your accent gives you away." Because Peter was Galilean. Galilean or Galilean? Galilean. Then he began to call down curses, and he swore at them, "I don't know the man." Now this is like, dude, I saw you at LOV since you were 14 years old. You got their hoodie on. No. No. I don't believe in sweatshirts. No. Orange, not my color. No. No. That wasn't me. That tag was not me. Do not tag me in that post. And so, it's saying Peter is calling down curses on these people. Like, he really does not want to be associated with Jesus at this point. Where, to the contrary, we saw in verse 34, verse 35, "Even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you." And all the other disciples agreed. But, now it's coming to this where Jesus is being taken away, and he's near, he's watching. No, sorry. That wasn't me. No. He's coming to the gate. No. You got the wrong person. No. It's going further and further. No. It wasn't me. It's like, when your friend does something bad or wrong, but maybe breaks something, I don't know. And you just watch. You just watch, and it's uncomfortable because his parents are yelling at him or her parents are yelling at her. And you're just like, I just want to go play Nintendo. Can we just go play The Sims or something? Like, can I leave? Because in one moment, you're ride or die. And then the next, you're just like, these are nice lights. These are great lights. Who did these? Great job. But immediately, and this is verse 75, immediately a rooster crowed. Then Peter remembered the word Jesus had spoken. "Before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. And he went outside and wept bitterly." And bitterly, I think, is the word that's used in pretty much each of the books and most translations. Bitterly. It's a very strong word. Angry, self-loathing. That he realized in that moment, whoa, I messed up. Like, dang. Mom said not to hang around with those dudes, and I did. Dang, she was right. These guys are crazy. Jesus said, "You will do this." But Peter, no, man. I'll die with you. Man. I'll be in those catacombs with you. And then he wept bitterly because he understood that not only did he go against his love, it's that he couldn't commit to his word that he had said to Jesus. Now, again, the real reasons, the true reasons why Peter did exactly what he did, you can go on for hours. People's psyche and the analysis of people can go on and on and on, but we see it plainly here that Peter understood and Peter wept. My second point here is that we are filled with fear around those that could convict. When we leave this place, it's so easy to say, nah, I'm free Tuesday, I'm free Sunday. Like, what do you want to do? You want to hang? You want to hang? Want to see a movie? What? It's so easy to go against what we do in here, because here we're all together. It's almost like we're almost like part of the same gear, going in unison. And it feels great to be together. But once we separate, because we're not always together all the time, that'd be kind of weird. But when we go out, we have our own lives. We have our own workplaces. We have the schools that we go to, the classes that we take, and the people that we interact with. We have so much going on that it's very easy to take a couple of wrong steps and end up denying Christ in very simple ways. It's very easy to fall into sin and into what the crowd does because we're surrounded by it. We're surrounded. And in that moment where it said Peter was following, he was surrounded by those that were ultimately convicting Jesus, the one that he loved. And put yourself in those shoes where you're watching and like your best friend being taken away, and you know he's going to be gone. And this is a man that Peter had seen perform miracles and do amazing things in the name of God. Yet even Peter, and this is the crazy thing, even Peter, who saw all these things firsthand, fell completely down. That's the importance of faith right now. That's the importance of faith, that we don't have to see anything, but we let faith carry us. We let our faith guide us, because that's what we believe in, that the faith in Jesus will bring us salvation. And the funny thing is that those were Peter being around the source completely fell. Really just shows how vulnerable man is. So, back to my story of SSF. As it grew, and it grew and it grew, it caught the attention of, I was about to say elders. They're not elders. The teachers of the school, and like the recess teachers, the ones that always had like a bunch of bags, they had Band-Aids, they had like a huge umbrella, and they're just walking, they're like patrolling. They're like, if you're in a video game, you avoid those. Like they have their view. Unless they turn, you got to sneak around them. And they caught on because there's always this big group of kids running around together, almost like a flock of geese, with these little, this little munchkin, me, leading the charge. Oh my! But I had a very similar situation where, I didn't say I was going to ride or die. I'm going to die for SSF. I was 10? I didn't really know what dying meant, but I understood that we had something going. And I understood that we caught the attention of the elders, of the teachers and the recess teachers. I was approached, myself and a couple of other people. Well, actually, a couple of other people were approached before I was. They said, who's in charge of this? And, they didn't say Devin, Alex, and Demi. They just said Demi. They just pointed at me. I was like, what? This is a 3-man operation that's leading this. It's not just, but I got the full fall. And so then I was approached saying, are you the leader of SSF? No. And kids are bad at lying. Kids are very bad at lying. I said, no. And they said, are you sure? That's like, what, do you know? What do you mean, am I sure? Yes, I'm sure. No, I am not Snake Eyes of SSF. I am not correlated whatsoever. But they knew. And the thing is, when you lie to your parents and they already know what you did, it just makes it a lot worse. Instead of a slap on the hand, you get a belt or whatever your equivalent is. But I could have fessed up. I could have said yes, proudly. That is my organization. Thank you for recognizing me as the leader of it. Thank you. But I was 10 and I was like, I'm going to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. My mom's going to yell at me. But truthfully, my consequence was not potential death like Peter's was. In fact, it wasn't even that big of a deal. But I'll get back to it because our friend Peter here, he has a situation on his hands, right? Where he denied Jesus. He denied Jesus, his good old pal Jesus, eventually, lived through his death, but then his resurrection, right? But what I want to go into before we talk about Peter being, I guess, kind of, the title from the Bible says reinstates, but the best way I could really say is kind of renewed. Before Peter gets renewed, I thought, well, if we're living in fear amongst our fellow man, surely there's got to be some kind of way to circumvent it, because when we go out and there's plenty of people against us, there's plenty of people who say, yeah, I'm Christian, but then throughout the school year, you see, whoa, that dude's not. I ain't never seen him at the Bible club after school. No. I never seen him there, but I seen him do something else. From Matthew chapter 10, verse 16. And this whole chapter in general is dealing or talking about Jesus sending out the 12 disciples and really his instruction to them, and also about what they'll encounter. So starting at verse 16 from Matthew chapter 10. I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. Be on your guard. You will be handed over to the local councils and be flogged in the synagogues. On my account, you will be brought before governors and kings as witnesses to them and to the Gentiles. But when they arrest you, do not worry about what to say or how to say it. At that time, you will be given what to say, for it will not be you speaking, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Now imagine that. You're getting instructed. Like imagine, I don't know, you have a simple task at school or at work or at home. Your mom comes home and says, all right, unload the dishwasher, but, be warned because you will be arrested, you will be whipped, and then you will have your feet chewed off by rats. Whoa, what? Okay, we need to put some brakes on that, because what did you just say? I'm going to be flogged? I'm going to be arrested? But Jesus is saying that the life that you choose to live under God is not going to come easy. That's the thing. When you get comfortable, your life is getting easy. Now, I'm not saying that it's some kind of set equation. At the moment life gets easy, bang, there's something that hits you. No, I'm not saying that. But it's reoccurring. And I've seen it reoccur in my life, where Jesus here is saying that you're going to be out like sheep among wolves. Now, I don't know how much you know about biology, anatomy, and all that, but a sheep is like this fluffy, dumb animal, and a wolf has claws and big teeth. Big old teeth. You can bite right through that sheep. And that's how powerless you are if the world decides to focus on you and turn against you. Like a sheep among wolves. You'll be torn apart. That's gruesome, but that's the reality of the kind of life we live under God, is that we have our salvation and we risk our lives, and you can risk your clout. People might see you in such high regards, but the moment you start talking about Jesus, like, oh, this guy's lame. And for some people, for actually a lot of people, that will hurt to be, I guess, abandoned by people just because of your faith. Especially even those that say that they are Christian, and that the moment you start talking about God, they're just like, well, I don't want to hang with you now. Like, well, you said you love Jesus. I seen you pray at lunch. At verse 26, we continue with Matthew chapter 10. So do not be afraid of them, for there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight. What is whispered in your ear, proclaim it from the roofs. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. And that calls back to the fear of God, which I don't know, I always end up talking about it in one way or another, but the fear of God there, that we should fear and love God, the God Almighty that we serve, because that's where our salvation comes from. And if we choose to go a different way, it's where our death comes from, because we will be judged in the end. and you don't want to be judged on situations where Jesus is saying, shout out what I've whispered to you, what I've told you in private, disclose it to everyone, because everyone should hear it. Now, later on, when Jesus is resurrected, we come back to it in John. John chapter 21, is where I'll be reading at verse 15. When they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" "Yes, Lord," he said. "You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." Right? "You love me, feed my lambs." Verse 16. Again, Jesus said, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" He answered, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." He answered, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said, "Take care of my sheep." Oh, interesting. He said, "I love you" twice here. He said, "I love you" twice. The third time, he said to him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, "Do you love me?" He said, "Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my sheep. Very truly, I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go." Jesus said this to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. Then he said to him, "Follow me." 3 times, Jesus asked, "Do you love me?" "Yeah, of course, dude. You know everything. Of course I love you." When your mom or dad, you're going to sleep, like, "Do you love me?" "Yeah, mom. Of course, my mom." Peter's saying, "Yeah, Jesus, you know I love you. Why are you asking me 3 times? Why are you asking me 3 times?" He says that he felt hurt. He was hurt that Jesus was asking this. But imagine the pain Jesus feels when you deny him, even once. But God is all loving. As I close with my third point, Jesus will always welcome you with open arms. No matter how many times you end up denying Christ, or you end up falling off the path, you end up doing what you know you shouldn't be getting involved into, you know that God is always there for you. And no matter what sort of decisions you make, Jesus, God, he's there always by your side. He's always there, because we don't have to search for him. We don't have to. A lot of people think, well, I've got to start looking for God in my life. No, God is always there. Huge misconception to believe I have to search for God. You might have to search in yourself on how to accept God, but God is always there. God's always with us. One of my dad's songs, one of the multitudes of songs, one of the many songs he's written, but translated from Russian, "For it wasn't you, but it was I who was searching you." That's in the words of Jesus. It wasn't you who was searching, it was I who was searching. And God's found us. God is with us continuously. Last place I'll read from is Romans chapter 5. Amazing book. At verse 6. "You see, at just the right time, when we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. Very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person, though for a good person, someone might possibly dare to die. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." Peter went through this major trial where he ended up denying Christ 3 times. With SSF, where I ultimately denied my cooperation with it, or my ownership of it, whatever it was, it ultimately ended in me having to dissolve it, having to kind of go against what we believed in and saying, "Hey, we're going to stick together forever, but no, we got to stop it because the school sees it as a gang. We're a gang. We're roaming around the playground. We're making noise. We're causing a ruckus." But I had to get over myself, and I had to face I had to face this decision because, I mean, yeah, sure, I was only 10 years old, but these people, what's the next move? What's the next move? There is no next move. And you might think, well, not necessarily think, but you can see that with Jesus, you might keep constantly asking, what's the next move? What's the next move? What's the next move? Let God decide the next move. Because on God's time is where everything happens. Your time is irrelevant to the sort of things that he can accomplish, the things that God can accomplish. And just like Peter had denied Christ after saying, I'll follow you. I'll follow you. Till death. I'll follow you. He denies, but Jesus comes back and says, do you love me? Yeah, I love you, Jesus. I love you so much. You know that I love you. But I'm sure that if Jesus, I guess, could have his word, in there, I'm sure Jesus would say, I never stopped loving you. I never stopped loving you. When you denied me, never stopped loving you. And I think that's the important thing to remember here tonight as we stand for prayer. It's important to remember as we leave this place that God loves, Jesus loves, and that's what we're about. We're about love. And if we don't have love for one another, we don't have love for those that are out, how can we really exhibit Christ in our lives? How can we exhibit Christ? Because we've got all this stuff going on. We have our work, we have our schools. You might have your own little SSF going on, maybe your neighborhood homies. You've got something going on. But God is what is the center of our lives should be. That's our center.